Welcome to the Fulfillment Project podcast, where we, the seekers, unite together to step into our higher selves and highest purpose. I'm your host, Simpli Sara, and I'm glad that we have found each other here today. My aim for this show is to give you some tools and strategies along with the awareness of emotional intelligence and intuition as you create a life and business from alignment, creating more joy and fulfillment every single day. Hello, sister friend. Welcome back to the Fulfillment Project podcast. You got your host here with you, Simpli Sara or Sara Fennel. If you haven't heard the story of Simpli Sara, it's a concept that was downloaded to me last summer in 2021 of my highest self. And Simpli Sara is my highest self, and that version of myself that I am always looking to live up to and to step into over and over and over again at all the different levels of growth that I go through, that I know that you want to go through or are going through with the work of alignment. And Simpli Sara was massively, massively tested and challenged over the last 6 weeks. I want to chat about that today. I want to open up a conversation about when life knocks you down. You get disrupted. There's maybe a lack of alignment of feeling or things coming at you. This could be maybe you feel like you've been getting punched in the face again and again and again, and you're forced to stand back up and keep taking it. Maybe there's been an erosion with you over a period of time of things just not going well for you, or things not working out, or not being really in that great vibration to create what you want to create. And maybe there's been a circumstance, maybe there's been someone that's been challenging you. Whatever it is, let's talk about picking ourselves back up, or in the work of doing the work of alignment, which is what I teach. And it's interesting because I even said to my mom, I haven't felt this much drama in my life in a long time. There's obviously been challenges, and my biggest challenge over the last couple of years was really finding alignment within my business again once COVID hit, and what I wanted to teach and what that evolution of my coaching would be, which I'm definitely in right now. But all other areas of my life were going so great, or we're in alignment, and it wasn't a lot of conscious work to uphold that alignment in those other areas. And I was saying to my mom, I got things coming at me from left and right, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's been this upheaval of so many different things. And when I say drama, I mean that there's a shift from operating out of love and more into fear. And so that can bring on some anxiety, that could bring on frustration, that could bring on a lot of doubt, that can bring on just these feelings of unease within our life, within different things. That's how I like to look at drama. There's no steadiness there. The lack of contentment isn't there. There can be things that come at you that throw you off kilter. And there's almost like a little bit of a lack of control that gets out of the state that you want to be in, and that groundedness every single day. And, I say this is interesting that I said to my mom that it's all about drama, because I've learned over and over again, and this lesson was definitely rang true for me over the last 6 weeks of, we don't necessarily get what we want, but we always get what we need. I think that's actually a song by Mick Jagger, is it? Sorry if I'm butchering that. I also heard that on a movie recently, so it's interesting the signs and downloads that we get. Anywho, to go into the story of June, let me digress a little bit to add some context to this conversation. This year for me was all focused around rebuilding my business and my brand, and this pivot that I've been doing. If you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, you've definitely seen and witnessed this shift in my messaging. And I'm at the point now where I'm creating my first core offer within the business. And so I know I got a lot of business owners here. When we have a brand and a message and a concept of what that transformation is going to be within the coaching, then we need to come up with some offers. I hosted a retreat in the spring, and I'm going to be doing one again this fall. I wouldn't consider that a core offer. It's definitely an offer within the business, but a core offer is something that is offered all the time, or that people can come into all the time, like a coaching package. Someone can sign up with you anytime. It's a core offer. I held an event, Simply Aligned, going to host one again in the fall, but I wouldn't say it's definitely a core offer. It's just an offer within the business model. And so, my core coaching offer is the Aligned Sisterhood. Something I haven't talked about on here that I will talk about on here. I've been doing some internal launches and stuff behind the scenes to get a beta group going. and then going to start talking about it a little bit more publicly on here, and open that up for the fall. And so my focus has been on, after finding alignment within the business and building that all back up. And the alignment there was incredible, and the downloads and that vision I had, and so on point with my messaging, when getting into the point of creating this first core offer with teachings and exercises and skills and knowledge that I've been using on myself and my private clients behind the scenes for the past year, putting it into video teachings and putting it into things that are going to be created as an offer and put out as one full container, as opposed to learning and gaining experiential wisdom with clients here and there. I found myself right in the work of what I was creating. And by being right in this work, I mean, there was such a smile that came across my face, met with a, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm in this type of maybe frustration. And here's the thing about alignment work, and my biggest lesson, and something that I know, but it's interesting when we actually go through the lesson, is that once we find alignment, that's only about half the work, actually, and maybe about a quarter of the work. The rest of the work is calibration and keeping your alignment, not just in the one thing that you're maybe has most of your focus at this point in time, but all the other things within your life. Because nothing exists in isolation, especially when we're talking about our self, our whole self that needs to show up within our life, our physical self, our mental self, our emotional self, that intuitive self that gives you that guidance for whatever it is you're creating. And then ultimately your self-expression, how you show up, how you speak, how you express your true inner being through this entire whole self. And so anything in our lives can knock us off kilter, because it will, if it affects the mental body or if it affects the emotional body, that's going to be transferred into the other areas of your life. And so this calibration, I call it the embodiment phase. The Aligned Sisterhood is all about teaching aligned intelligence, which I've talked about here on the podcast, but aligned intelligence is 4 phases. Those first initial phases: having awareness, phase number 1, awakening a new potential within yourself, phase number 2. Phase number 3 is activating that new self, really working on the physical, mental, emotional, intuitive, and self-expression of your new self. And then that fourth phase, which is embodying your new self and calibrating back to that self again and again and again, because life will knock you down. Things will come at you that you need to learn how to navigate. And so I really like to look at alignment work like surfing. I know I told this story at my event, Simply Aligned, and maybe I've told it on here, but I'm going to talk about it again because it's such a powerful analogy. And so I took surfing lessons for the first time in Nicaragua in 2020, right before COVID hit. And, I took one surfing lesson here. Let's just be honest here. I'm not a professional surfer, but I had the experience. And it's one thing to just get up on the board, but in order to be a master surfer, it's really learning how to master yourself, that whole, like that physical body, and the calibrations and the slight adjustments needed all the time in order to navigate the conditions that come at it. The waves that are underneath, the way the body is moving, how the wind is moving during that day, all affects the conditions for you to be able to get up and ride that surfboard. And master surfers, or anybody who likes to master something in their life, it's not just about learning that initial skill, but it's going deeper and deeper with that work. And, it's challenge that really sparks us. It's challenge and teaching ourselves and proving to ourselves that we have abilities to overcome and get to different levels and different sides of whatever it is that we are focused on. And so with alignment work, and I mean, this is even Tony Robbins' line of, if you're not growing, you're going to feel like you're dying. Human beings really enjoy that momentum in our life, that building towards something, that acceleration of something unfolding and something becoming, which is growth within our personal lives. And so if we are not being challenged, if we're not being knocked down or knocked out of alignment, or having conditions come at us that might be out of our skill set, how are we ever going to grow? It's going to be impossible. And so it's not always looking for things to be easier, but how do I increase my skills so that I can come at this situation with more ease? Because, and this is just my personal opinion and what I've witnessed with myself over the years, I look at a lot of the population of people who get into their 30s or into their 40s, there can become a discontentment with life or a stagnant feeling, this lack of momentum or progress. And up until really that point, most of our younger years are encouraged for growth. There's so many milestones that we hit when we're growing up, learning how to walk, going to school, switching different, types of schools from elementary, maybe middle school, if you have a middle school, into high school, graduating, doing something, getting a driver's license, getting your first job, getting your first real career, or getting a business off the ground, finding love, getting married, having kids. There is such a momentum that happens in those first 2 decades of life that if we don't keep a forward focus and a forward vision of where we want to grow to and what those next milestones are, we can start to feel that stagnancy. And this is where I really feel the work of personal growth and personal transformation comes in, because society will set up these milestones growing up. Most people go to school and are encouraged to go to school with their parents, encouraged to get married, and all of those, I'm using bunny, or societal norms or what is expected of you. And even if you go outside of those norms, there's things that your family or society will set up for you, like getting a driver's license. Most people are going to do that. It's a societal norm. We just do that if you want to be able to transport yourself around. And so as we get into our 30s and into our 40s, how do we turn that lens on ourselves and look at how we can continue to grow without anybody else motivating us, without someone else outside of us putting that condition in front of us in order to grow? But in a paradoxical condition, people actually do put those situations in front of you to grow, the circumstances outside of yourself. And back to my analogy about surfing, those waves that are underneath of yourself, those conditions that come at you that force you to up the ante of the skills for you to develop. And so, I don't know where you're at right now. I don't know what type of a journey that you're on. I don't know if you feel like you are right in alignment. You're like, Sara, I got this. Like, I'm nailing it. I'm feeling good. I'm doing the work. I have the vision. I'm seeing the synchronicities. I'm feeling the joy. I'm feeling the momentum. Alignment is happening and it's going in that right direction. Or maybe you're going through a challenging time, something like what I'm just coming out of, where you feel like you're constantly getting knocked down. Things are coming at you. Frustration builds up. Maybe there's anxiety. Maybe there's a fear-based mindset. Maybe you're trying to be positive, but things just keep happening. There's 2 things that I want you to ask yourself. This is something that I'm teaching inside of a course within the Aligned Sisterhood. And whenever we're faced with not feeling like we're in alignment, and alignment is a feeling. So when we don't feel good, when we don't feel energized, when we don't feel engaged, when we don't feel connected and powered by flow and feel like we're on purpose and performing at our best, it means there's something out of alignment. And so we can ask ourselves 2 questions. Question number 1, and you might not have to ask yourself both questions. One may serve you better than the other. So question number 1 is, am I under the influence of the problem or the solution? Because every time we are having a state of experience or a state of being, we're under the influence of something. I'm actually writing a chapter about this in a book that I have coming up. I've talked about this on social media a little bit, but I'm writing a book called Follow the Joy, and I'm hoping that it's going to come out this fall, but we'll see based on timeline and creative flow. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. It's going to be self-published anyways, so there's no publishing deadlines or anything. So anyways, back to that. Are we under the influence of the problem or the solution? When we're constantly focused on the problem at hand, so what is currently within our face, what we're currently looking at, the current reality, it's really hard to be able to disconnect yourself and have a different vision. What's the solution that I can look for here? What are some things that I can do to alleviate the quote unquote problem? How can I start moving myself into a different direction? What would be a good action to take right now? What's that mental flip that I need to do within myself so that I actually open up to new ideas, new downloads, new insights? Because when we're always focused on the current reality of what's in our face, it's really hard to have forward vision and forward thoughts. I'm a really big fan of Abraham Hicks, the teachings of Abraham, and they talk about this a lot. They talk about how it's completely two different vibrations of the problem and the solution. So if you're in the vibration of the problem, which is probably going to be fear-based, which is met with either disappointment, discontentment, fear, anxiety, despair, depression, you can't be in the vibration of the solution, which is eagerness and happiness and productivity and meaning and purpose and joy and love and all those other high vibrations. And so it's looking at how can we switch that vibration? How can we start climbing the vibrational ladder to make ourselves feel better, to be able to open up to those new possibilities and that new fresh energy of ideas that come in? And so ask yourself, am I under the influence of the problem or the solution? Sometimes when we are in our current environment, it can be really hard to find that vibration of the solution. As synchronicities would have it, I had a vacation planned with two of my girlfriends, Emma and Claudia. I think we booked this back in like March or April or something. And it came right in the middle of this whole quote unquote drama that I was going through. And I was saying to Joe, this is like the worst time for this vacation, but it's actually the best time. And it truly was, because it allowed me that disconnection from my current reality, getting out of my home, went to a cottage, stepped away from work and everything. And I actually even shut my phone off for 48 hours just to get a disconnection. Because when we get a disconnection, we'll cut off that vibration and that energy and allow us to get to that point of neutrality. Neutrality is actually really powerful. We don't have to feel joy and elation and fulfillment all the time. Neutrality in and of itself will allow us to be able to have a more grounded energy to be able to choose again. How do I choose my next thought again? How do I choose my next action again in a different direction? So are you under the influence of the solution or the problem? And question number 2 that you can ask yourself is, am I under the influence of what's going wrong or what's going right? Again, this is really just all of a thought process, which definitely stimulates an emotional process, which gives us our state of being. And so a lot of the times when problems arise, it can be so tempting to be able to look at everything that's going wrong when it comes to that problem. And this isn't just hopeful optimism, and it's not just positive thinking. It's truly getting grounded in all the things that are going right in your life, because there's never anything that is just black and white. Black and white thinking is it's more fear-based thinking. It's a lower vibration. There's so much gradient to a scale of an experience that we are having at any given point in time. But when we are in fear or when we're in the vibration of the problem, we're only going to see more problems and more things going wrong. And so looking at what is everything that's going right in my life. It's a great journaling prompt. It's kind of very similar to gratitude journaling, but what are all the things that are going right in your life? What are all the things that you are appreciative for? What are all the things that you're grateful for? Let's throw that word in there again. There's always something that's going right for you. And again, all this is doing is really just switching that vibration. It's disconnecting you from the problem to allow that new, fresh energy to be able to come in. And so I hope this has served you here today, my friend, my sister, my fellow woman who is on her own growth journey, who I know wants to create a beautiful life. I know that you want alignment. I know that you're probably right in the work if you've continued to listen to this podcast with me as I've changed my message again and again and again. One thing that I do want to note as I am finishing up this episode here with you is I've learned through all and I really only learned this when I came into business coaching. So I've been in business for 11 years now, and I've coached in a few different niches. I started out as a transformation coach for women, and then I was a holistic health coach, and then a business coach, and now an alignment and manifestation coach. And when we coach on something, it's okay for you to not have it all figured out. In fact, it's better if you are just as much a student as you are a teacher. This is something that actually took me, again, I said, until I got to business coaching to learn. I had to get over that perfectionism mindset. I had to get over that I have to have everything figured out and make it look like, I have my situation set up perfectly in order for me to be able to coach or do this thing. That was especially true with fitness because my physical body was such a representation of myself in the work that I do because of fitness competitions and photo shoots. And whenever I was out of shape, which was rightfully so, because there were periods of building and leaning out and normalizing and recalibrating metabolism and all those phases when it comes into the body transformation world, I thought that I always had to be in shape in order to have value and worth for what I was marketing or what I was coaching on, which is absolutely not true. I truly believe that a really good coach is in the trenches with their client doing the work, because I know from my own personal experience, it's really hard for me to grow and evolve, not just my skill set, but my passion and drive for what I do if I'm not immersed in the work. And so don't be surprised that whatever you're coaching on, you're being slapped in the face with. It's a really great condition for you to be able to look at and say, like, how do I grow through this? How do I take my own personal experience and turn it into something beautiful and such a piece of value for my clients along their journey? That in and of itself is valuable for you. And so if you're a health coach, or if you're a business coach or a marketing coach or a spiritual coach or a mindset coach, or whatever it is that you coach on, are you in the trenches with your own work? Sometimes lack of alignment with our business is because we're not in the trenches with our work, and therefore we're disconnected, or we don't feel like we are a good representation for the work that we are, the poster child for. And people gravitate towards role models, and role models don't have to be perfect. People just want to know that you're on that journey with them. And it'll make you so, so, so valuable to others. And so I hope this has served you here today. Again, ask yourself, what am I under the influence of? Am I under the influence of the problem, or am I under the influence of the solution? Or you can also ask yourself, am I under the influence of what's going wrong, or am I under the influence of what's going right? I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode today. My website, simplysara.com, is a great place for me to continue to support you on your journey to alignment, joy, and fulfillment. There you will find upcoming retreats that I am hosting, resources, books, and many other helpful tools to help you on your travels through this thing called life.